Hey there, welcome to Her Truth Revealed, Unraveling Our Midlife Era. I'm your host, Wonderful Morrison. This space is for the woman who's done pretending, done hiding, and ready to step fully into her truth. Midlife isn't about fading into the background. It's a time where resilience lights the way and authenticity becomes the loudest voice in the room. In this season of our lives, we are more than just survivors. We are creators, revolutionaries, and unapologetic women rewriting the rules. I've been through my battles, rebuilding from loss, betrayal, and heartache. But here's the truth. Every challenge, every tear, and every setback has led me to this moment of profound transformation. Together, we're going to dive into raw, real conversations that shatter stereotypes, tackle the tough stuff, and embrace the powerful magic that is midlife. So, if you're ready to live this chapter with boldness and joy, hit subscribe. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it and leave a review so we can keep this revolution going. Ladies, no more masks, no more apologies, just the truth of who we are. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of Her Truth Revealed, Unraveling Our Midlife Era. Here we talk to midlife experts and midlife women about the journey of from the inside out, like what's going on? What is going on? And so I bring on women here who are experts in their field to help us understand that it's not just about the hot flashes. It's not just about divorce or the big transitional of what they call like midlife chaos or crisis. I honestly don't feel that way. I think it's a midlife awakening. So, and today we have a very special guest. Krishna is here to share with us a lot of the internal workings, the world of psychology on a bigger spectrum that we need to explore in our midlife. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for the audience who listen, who share, who comment, who review us. If it wasn't for you, we would not be at the top 10% of our global listenership. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart so truly. And let's get started. So welcome to the show, Krishna.
Thank you. I'm so excited and happy to be here.
I'm so glad because when I got your information and I was going through your website, I was like, oh, I have so many questions. And there's some things I can't say, not because it's difficult to say, it's honestly because I think my tongue and my mouth just can't say it. So I'm going to have you explain to us, like, what brought you to the world of psychology and subconscious, would we call that healing or the subconscious space? In this next level of healing, that is more introspective than it is an external space that we live in. Like, what brought you here?
Well, I would say that acupuncture was my first love in this life. And I started that work as a career a long time ago, 23 years ago. But it was the first thing in life that I ever pursued, trusted 100%, and never doubted or looked back on. So it really was like the thing that gave me a path and gave me a way forward in my own healing and in my service to humanity. I was most definitely always a space holder, always a caregiver. As many of us women were growing up. I learned to give and give and give to receive love and acceptance, to be pretty, to be nice, to earn love, to always say yes and never say no, to be a good person and to earn that love and acceptance, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know, of course, that these were the spiritual lessons, some of which were my spiritual lessons that I came into this world needing to navigate. But at this time in my life and in the last 10 years or so, having found this new work that I do, so many things are falling into place that make sense now because I didn't understand the subconscious mind, which is really like my obsession, because the subconscious mind creates 97% of our lives. It's where our programs and our habits and behaviors and beliefs are stored. And if you think about the fact that we are all programmed, we're all creating our lives from these subconscious
Mm,
beliefs. It's just a matter of what programs we're running. And most of us, especially as women, especially you and me, like women of color,
mhm,
we are raised with pretty contracted beliefs about what we're worth and what we deserve. Maybe that's not your situation,
mm.
but most of us were taught, especially with religious upbringing,
Yeah.
that you have to be a certain way to be a good woman or what
Yes.
mother. And, it's a bunch of BS. And we're all starting to sort of awaken to that now. But it's hard
Yeah.
to make the changes in your life with just your conscious mind. And that is what I was trying to do. I was trying to, I had started meditation. I found these beautiful tools that I came across through acupuncture school, but I still wasn't really able to make some changes in my life that I looked around and said, well, why are they able to have that? Why are they able to so easily do this, that, and the other?
Mhm.
Again, it's because I didn't have the tools yet, nor did I even know what the subconscious mind was. So then when I started hearing about it on podcasts, I started reading, I started going down the rabbit hole, came to find the process I was trained in, which you and I were talking about. It's a silly name. I don't love it, but it was created by a psychologist who was not serving his patients the way he wanted to. And it stands for psychology and kinesiology. It's called Psych K. And the way that I find it to be special is that unlike other ways of working with the subconscious, you not only get to do these simple, quick, conscious things to help you unattach in a peaceful way from something that was stressful or triggering, but you also
Mhm.
create new subconscious programs based off of what you want. So when I'm talking,
Wow.
you're telling me and I'm asking, like, wonderful, what is the perception you want to have? What's the life you want to be experiencing? Where do you want to grow? You talk about what you want, and then from your most favorite words, literally create a new program. And so that work is not really something I knew about, but when I heard about it, my intuition bell was like, ding.
Yeah.
And I got a session. And to be honest, I didn't feel any different from the session, but I knew I wanted to train in it. And so when pandemic hit, it's like, I wonder if that one woman in Portland, Oregon, where I live, is teaching classes. And sure enough, she was. And I did 3 out of the 4 levels of training here in this house. She lived here for 25 years and taught for 12. I ended up buying her house, which is a magical. But yes, and then what happened was my life started to change. And I started offering this work to some of my patients without really expecting feedback. I just wanted to practice. And what they were coming back and telling me was so profound that I was like, okay, now I really can trust this and do this work.
Wow.
Answer, but that's how I came to serve in the way that I'm currently serving, which I find is the healing that the world is asking for. Because while acupuncture is beautiful, magical, amazing medicine, there are like 10 acupuncturists on every block in Portland and in Seattle, but
Mhm.
aren't a lot of people who have the tools to like go straight in, work with the subconscious in a way that's quick and easy. And the way that that for me is so impactful is that I get to work with people who've been in talk therapy for like 20 years, but they're
Mm.
still pissed off, avoidant, triggered, avoiding things, upset about things on pharmaceuticals. And then they'll come in and do like sessions of work with me. And it's like, even their therapists, even their husbands, their kids are like, whoa, you are different. What is going on with you?
Wow. Well, the journey, the trajectory is, it sounds like it was meant to happen. Like it was a path laid out for you and you just had to walk it to get to where it was. Because, initially I was like, wow, I want to know how this came about because I'd never really heard of Psych K. And when I was reading it and there was a lot about in the subconscious space, which let's talk about that for a second. Because here I am in midlife, and there is about 8 million, well, 86 million of us in the United States that are in this era called the midlife, right? So that's 40 to 65. So 86 million. And we come from a generation that were raised by tight lip. You don't share anything. you don't really know how to communicate emotions. So, right, we've been trudging along, living life. And what we've learned subconsciously is how to hide, how to keep ourselves the best secret. And then now we're hitting this midlife and we want more. Because what I've found is this group of people are still young enough and vibrant enough to want to give to the world in a different way, but don't know how to. So now we're all on a search. Like, how do we heal these parts of us that have been sitting in trauma? And like you said, a lot of us has been sitting in talk therapy for years. And granted, it is a form of releasing, but I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learned that from my forgiveness coach. She's like, you need to move, you need to talk, you need to physically, there has to be a connection to what it is that you're processing. And when I read your information, I thought this is so fascinating. It's fascinating because do you see a lot of people within this age range of the midlife that so much of maybe our physical ailments or the life we've created that we want to burn to the ground is much more in our control than it's not in our control? And how do you help us process that information of like what we have control of and what we don't, or is control even a thing? So many questions.
Good questions. I would probably have you tell me about what is stressing you out right now. What is taking up your head, you on repeat with in your mind? And that could be your biggest, deepest, darkest trauma, or it could
Mm,
just annoying that someone said to you that you just can't stop thinking about. It does not matter because that's where you're stuck. That's where you're repeating. And when we do this work
mm,
with the subconscious and we do what we call balances in psyche, your brain does get to peacefully unattach from this thing you're so enmeshed with and stuck on. And it helps you create a new neural pathway in your mind to go in a different direction. So it's likely the annoying thing somebody said to you that you can't stop thinking about is likely related to that deepest, darkest trauma. But your brain still like gets to create this new space and have a new option to have a new experience. So sometimes though I do psyche balances for people who do have control issues. Like a lot of people feel very unsafe in the unknown,
mm.
at least since COVID, right? And so
Right.
a new program that's like, again, we talk about what you want to experience, but a lot of people want to feel safe in the unknown, or they want to feel safe in the present, or they want to trust themselves, or they want to feel safe letting go, or they want to feel peace, right? So we just
Yeah.
where you're stressed and stuck, do some balances to help you unattach, go in a new direction, have a new experience. And then we talk about what you want, create that program so that it can actually happen. Because without
Mhm.
this program, it's not going to happen.
Wow. So this subconscious space where I wrote it down, 90, you said 97% of how we live comes from this subconscious space.
Yeah, and that's a perfect, important question because, yes, neuroscience, which is where this would come from, is newer science. Even psychology is newer science. It used to be more in the philosophy category.
Mm,
But now there has been research in neuroscience, in epigenetics, which is our reality based on our environment. And there are scientists who are hardcore scientists who became spiritual, who were never spiritual before because of doing this kind of work. So, like, one of my main teachers is a guy named Bruce Lipton. He's a
oh, yes. I totally know the guy.
so he wrote The Biology of Beliefs, and that's such an important book in my life. But also, like just the way he teaches and his personal story and how he came to become a spiritual being because of this work. Same thing, like what I was talking about. He'd never had the experience of healthy relationships, being in love, all this
Mm,
botched relationships. And then when he started doing this work, which is also how Psyche is how he finished his book, The Biology of Belief. So when he talks about the subconscious, he will name Psyche as being his favorite way of working with it. And that's how people often know about Psyche on their own, the subconscious, and started doing some research. But most people have never heard of it.
right.
They know
It's fascinating, though. It sounds interesting because we know that especially in the last 20 years, there's been so much more exploratory conversations about, the quantum physics and how much we do co-create our lives or create our lives. But, when The Secret came out, that was just such a big thing about law of attraction. So I feel like all of those kind of touch base on our subconscious, but they're not real like roadmaps and pathways. They're just little parts because we've all tried them. We've all tried, right? And it's fascinating when I was looking at all the things that you do, just how much deeper it is. When you're saying it, it sounds simplified, right? But for me and for women in my age group that I talk to pretty regularly, we're always looking for another layer of ourselves to surrender to or to release or to let go of. And is that layering what is considered subconscious? Like, tell us a little bit more in that way because there's so much information out there, to tell you the truth. Like, there's just a ton. And there is now, because coaching has been on a rise, there's all of that arena also, right? In the coaching industry, the therapy industry, the psychology industry, and then there's the quantum physics of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Deepak Chopra. Tell us how all of those, and then what Psych K, how do we differentiate that in the world of information?
There's so much information, and people have started to hear about the subconscious, but they don't have just like you're saying, they don't have the tools to work with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This work is an actual tool to work with your subconscious. There are things you can do on your own, and I'll definitely share those. But like the work of Psych K or whatever else works for you, like EMDR didn't work for me. And again, you don't get new programs. You might be able to unattach from some stress. Hypnotherapy also didn't work for me, but that's because I like to be conscious. And I feel like a lot of the work for me has to do with the space holder. I think that's why Psych K didn't work for me. I love my teacher. She was my teacher. I bought her house. She's an amazing thing. She just wasn't my space holder.
Mm,
We need to feel seen and heard if we're going to heal. We need to feel
that is so good.
trust so that we can open up and heal. Also, I feel like with the work of Psych K and really any modality or work that I practice, if you're not intuitive, you're not going to really like help people get to their exact goal statement for that new program they want to create. Like you have to be a reflective listener. You have to take what people are saying to you and reflect back like, okay, well, what I'm hearing from everything you just told me is this is actually what you want. Is this true? Right. And so
Yeah.
that right person, like they're just not going to be as helpful or guide us to our blind spots, maybe, um, where we could do like bigger or more impactful
Yeah.
or clearer messages that we want to broadcast or receive from the universe. So, to your question, there's so much information out there, but for me, I was very guided by something higher than me into acupuncture, into Psych K, and then into this other system that I practice called internal family systems, which was created
Yeah.
by a psychologist. I mean, it's a formal mental health framework, which is a deeper inquiry that I often combine in a session with Psych K, just because like Psych K doesn't mean to be spiritually bypassy, but sometimes we need to dig a little deeper within
Mhm.
this maybe like subconscious stress balance in Psych K.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what these things were when I got into them and went into the training. And then when I was in the trainings, I was like, it's because not only do I need this for myself, but this is literally the world asking for this healing. This is
Yeah.
what I need.
And I appreciate that you answered the way that you do because here I'm a interviewer and I want to dig deep and I'm asking questions that I think I hear a lot of my environment asking about like how do you know? How can you distinguish? And I think you just said the most magical words when you said space holder. Because really, there is 8.6 billion people in the world. How do you know who is? And we're led by our energy and we're led by our perceptions. And you're right. In order to heal, we need to feel safe and we need to trust who we're in the safe space with. And when there's been plenty of people that we may meet that are fantastic, but that's not necessarily the ones who hold space for you. And I think that's a beautiful answer for how so many of us who aren't in the industry and are looking for healing support can better discern who we need to go with and who we don't. Because sometimes we're just so desperate, we just need to relieve ourselves from the pain. And that desperation can sometimes cloud our judgment of like, I guess we're just going to go here. And I also love what you said about reflective listening. Because I've interviewed enough to where some people have a very interesting healing practice, but somehow I didn't connect. And that's probably what it is. Because for me, my personality, I need somebody to reflect back what I just said. And when you're not, I can tell, well, you didn't really listen. So I'm just going to move forward and manipulate the situation based on not giving you all my vulnerability, right? Because that's really what we're being asked to do, is to be vulnerable in the spaces that are so painful. Like, why would we ever want to go back there? But then at the same time, we can't keep living this life.
Exactly. I think that was so brilliant that you even know that about yourself. Like, oh, I'm sensing this person's not seeing me. They're not hearing me. I'm only going to show this much. And I'm going to manipulate the situation so it's comfy for me. Right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I really appreciate that every answer you've given isn't directed towards like, this is what I do, but more from the human space of what is right for the person who needs what they need.
Right.
Which
Exactly.
I know to you sounds probably like, well, why would I do it any differently? Well, trust me, Krishna, I talk to so many people and I that is not the most common way to respond. So thank you so much for being that person. So let me ask you this. There are there is a group of people that are truly in the space of suffering, but from the outside, they are killing it. Life is amazing, right? But there's maybe one space that's suffering, like the relationship with their spouse or finding somebody or how would they go about? Because I also know about that internal family system, which I've been hearing a lot about. How do we help them discern whether your information is the right direction for them or not without knowing about space holders or even any form of trust? Like they've never talked to anybody, never been talk therapy, anything. And they're at that brink of like, there's either got to be an answer or not.
Mhm.
What would you suggest?
Correct. You know what I mean? I think there will be like a little ping, a spark of interest
Mm,
in your body, something that sparks your curiosity and you want to know more.
yeah.
You know, of course, people have to learn how to follow that. And sometimes people are so stuck or seeking so much clarity that they don't know and they are overwhelmed by information. But,
Yeah.
you know, if nothing has worked for you in the past, talk therapy hasn't worked, pharmaceuticals haven't worked, you try to work everything out physically through a workout, but you're still this, that,
Yeah.
there, it's time to try something different. So, with the subconscious and with neuroplasticity, you can start making changes on your very own, just with the smallest things, right? For instance,
Yeah.
coffee gives you a lot of energy, but it also doesn't help with your anxiety, right? You got this like addiction. I'm talking about myself right now, right? What? Oh, maybe have a cleaner experience with your caffeine and you want to switch to,
Mm,
but it's very hard. Well, even if you just try it one day,
ah,
you're still going to have an easier time trying to do that the next day. It could be the same thing with anything. Like maybe I'm just going to turn my phone off an hour before bed tonight because I haven't been sleeping or because
mm,
I read or because I wish I did some yoga, but I never have time. What about if I just turn my phone off early and stretched?
yeah.
We'll start breaking up that habit pattern that you're so entrenched in and start like offering a new way, a new perception, a new neural pathway in your mind. Now, when you do the work of like say Psych K, it's so much quicker, so much quicker. And then you can use these other things to reinforce these new pathways that you created with this work. But it's why like affirmations or journaling or trying to give yourself pep talks, it's why that stuff doesn't work for a lot of people because they're only working
Mhm.
finding the subconscious needs a lot of repetition, a lot of repetition. So you can listen to self
Mm,
hypnosis, you can journal, you can affirm, but it's going to be a lot harder and it's going to take a lot of time and it might not work.
Yeah. I'm in agreement because that's me. Like I started a business in the 90s, and the popular thing back in the 90s was a lot of visualization and repetition and habitual success habits that were thrown out by very strong male energy of like wealth building in terms of riches, not so much internal validation and internal love type of space. And to try to redirect that now has been a journey. It's been a fascinating journey. And hence her truth revealed is born. So tell us, if you were to describe to like per se me who doesn't know a lot about what Psych K is, how can you explain it to me in a way that I can clearly understand without needing to look up certain things that and connects to me? Well, how would you say that to me?
Nice question. I would say, hey, wonderful. Like, what are you stressed about? Where are you feeling stuck? Where are you getting triggered? Where are you hitting a lot of resistance? Where do you, you know, frustrated? And we'd start there because
Mm,
what we can do is this very simple, conscious, easy process to maybe help you unattach in a very peaceful way from that frustration or stress or thing you're stuck on and just help you have a new experience. And what we do is a really simple set of things to speak to your subconscious mind and get in a clear yes or clear no from your subconscious. And then we go through what's called a balance, which is just meant to get your brain, left and right hemispheres of your cerebral cortex specifically, to communicate coherently so that you can expand in your subconscious and move on. It's very simple and very quick. And then we'll muscle test again at the end to just make sure the shift has happened. And muscle testing works because you can't lie to the muscles and you
mm,
can't
mm,
subconscious. Also, we can do this virtually, which is wild because I just ask your higher self essentially and your subconscious if it's appropriate that I muscle test on your behalf. I'm not channeling your energy. I'm
mm.
not nothing weird like that. It's very clean and simple. I just ask for permission to muscle test on your behalf. So somehow it works just as effectively virtually, but we usually get to 2, 3, sometimes 4 balances in a session. And one balance is a lot because your brain changes every single time we do a
Yeah.
balance.
Wow.
We'll talk about where you're stressed, where you're frustrated, what's taking up a lot of headspace, where are you resistant, where do you wish things would be easier? And we'll help you go in a new direction. Or like what's so upsetting and causing you dis-ease in your body. Because Psyche and IFS can both be very somatic, meaning the body will give you a
Mm,
question and holds your stories. And then we'll talk about what you want. And in the same way, we'll muscle test. We'll go through a balance. We'll muscle test after just to make sure that this new program has been created in your subconscious mind.
and it's so how often does one need to see you if let's say like it's somebody that wants to leave the corporate world, which is what I've been hearing a lot. The women that I come across is they're over it. They've been there long enough and they're not at the retirement age yet, but they are ready to leave. So that's a big conflict of, the safety net of their corporate income and then like what are they going to do with their lives? How often is it vary of how many times due to the strain, or is it kind of work pretty regular with no matter what the issue is?
That one session is going to be helpful. We can
Mm,
unattach from the things that are causing you fear, maybe, and stress where you're stuck. We can
mhm,
also in a new direction, like what do you need? What do you want right now? And maybe it's to trust yourself more. Maybe it's
mm,
that your joy and your needs and what you want matters, right?
yeah,
People need expanding there in those areas, trusting themselves, using their voice, and that their joy and pleasure matters because
yeah,
money, everybody knows like money's great. Money matters. Money gives you purpose.
yeah.
Growth makes you successful, helps you be seen, helps you feel safe, helps you feel stable.
Mm,
So I've taught that like, what kind of career is that if you go into coaching or what kind of,
right.
money are you going to make? That kind of thing. And
Yeah.
is like just because you said the coaching world was blown up. I do get to work with a lot of coaches and speak to coaching cohorts because a lot of people go through coaching programs because they do want to leave the corporate world or
Mm-hmm.
get their business going. That is a lot of what it is. It's contracted beliefs about self worth, like maybe being seen for who you are, that your voice matters, that you have value, that you can trust yourself, that
Yeah.
maybe if receiving money for doing something you love.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you really answered it in such like, again, what I love about how you're responding is you simplify what the rest of us overcomplicate, right? Because we think we need this big answer. We need these, 20 years hidden in the cave type thing in order for us to get enlightened. And, um, I love that it's the willingness of the party that comes in and says, "Okay, I guess I'm ready to give this a try." Have you had anybody that has come in and is like, "Oh, I really wanna give this a try," and then just was not open to what you do? And how does that translate?
Yeah. Really say that yet. I might have had people who I thought had amazing first sessions, like amazing.
Mm,
My God, I know this is the work they were been waiting for all their lives. And then they don't come back.
mm,
Maybe they are not ready to expand in that way. Maybe their nervous systems aren't grounded or safe enough to hold expansion. And that is another piece of it because your nervous system does need to feel safe growing
yeah.
and healing. And that's another aspect of my work is nervous system support. And I haven't yet really heard of anyone saying that a session wasn't helpful or that they didn't notice any changes. But
Oh,
also know, like, let's just put it from an internal family systems lens or a subconscious lens. Some people, even if they had a session and it was so amazing, they might not be expanded enough in their subconscious beliefs to be worthy,
mm,
say, healing or clarity or growth or being inspired. Like, I might help people do some big changes, but then it's like, are you really ready to be like vibrant and seen and like in the complete alignment with the God that flows through you? Or are you just like comfy, kind of growing a little bit?
mm.
So we might have a very powerful session, but your relationships and the world will keep showing you where you can keep growing. And if you're not
Oh.
ready, you might need to do more work on being ready and feeling safe to be someone else, to be someone new.
I love that. I love that so much of that we really have to make an internal decision with ourselves of we can't just jump in and think this is because that's what I am hearing too is we have this desperation that this one thing will be the magic pill, but it can't if you don't feel safe in it, right? Or if you don't like what you said about the nervous system and I was just hijacked yesterday in a conversation where my nervous system went a little sideways and I couldn't I couldn't understand what was happening emotionally because it was creating a lot of turmoil internally. And then when I have enough tools now to take my body to where it can calm down and ground it and see like what was that about, then I could see it, but reach out to me 2 years ago, that was never gonna be a thing. That could have lasted weeks and days and months and could have imprinted in my head of like, "Oh gosh, I guess I am kinda stupid, aren't I?" The language we use within ourselves that is unkind, that we would never use on anybody else. So, this subconscious space, is this what meditators talk about that we need to like, is that the thing? Because I want a clearer picture of like, well, what is the subconscious? Do you have to be in that theta or beta or that space where is that what that is? Tell us about a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I love that. I would say that in that theta state, which is just it's a brainwave frequency, right? And we're going to be in there in like a dreamy state. So like maybe when you're just waking up in the morning or before you fall asleep, those are really impressionable, impactful times for your brain to make changes easier. I could do something like this when we're stressed out or in the middle of the day and we just had some caffeine and we're in a busy work. So this can be more challenging, right? Yeah. In like the theta state, that is when your brain it's going to just be easier to influence. And Bruce Lipton will explain the subconscious, like, okay, I don't love describing us as technology, but he says, like, if we're computers, the subconscious is the hard drive. We're all programs. We need those to run. Without the programs, not function or be in life. Okay. And then the conscious mind is the keyboard. That's where we're typing in information. We need both.
Yeah.
Or if you want a different visual, like if you look at an iceberg, you see the top of that iceberg sticking out. That's the conscious mind. But everything deep and underneath that's dark and dense, that's your subconscious.
Which, see, again, when you explain it this way, there were giant posters of that back in the day of the iceberg. And so logically we can place it together. But when we're in our own chaos, it's hard to distinguish unless we're guided by somebody like yourself that knows how to communicate to those parts of us that we're not privy to because we haven't been doing it. So is there a particular age do you work with any and everybody who benefits the most from this experience, or is that even a right question to ask?
It's a perfect question to ask. I've been working with a lot of teenagers lately because I treated and worked with this woman who's a teen health coach who works with eating disorders. And she started sending me her patients because I saw her and had a powerful session. She sent both of me her daughters. And then she started sending clients. And the clients were like, I want to do this instead of talk therapy. This is so much for me. And it's empowering, because you can
Yeah.
stuff. Like a lot of people need that verbal processing. Talk therapy does save lives. But like a lot of us aren't really attracted to that. And we don't want to keep telling the same stories over and over because people
Right.
be over therapized or you're just repeating same stories because most talk therapists do not have other tools that work with the subconscious or like IFS. Like those are special tools that help people like make changes that they haven't been able to make.
Yeah.
They're different frameworks.
Yeah. There's this book I read called The Body Keeps Score. And in it, his suggestion is, all we know, what's been normalized is talk therapy, but everybody is individually, the trauma that we're holding on to was caused multiple different ways. And we have multiple different ways we learn, we hear, we see. And it's the same with therapy. You have to see what works for you. And when I read that, I remember like, wow, you just gave me permission to go try out a bunch of stuff. Right. And I think that that's why I was so fascinated with having you on, is because we need to normalize other ways to explore our healing other than just this, whatever's the most popular via media, which, by the way, took a few years to get to. Like it had already been, like acupuncture is very, Western. Like I've known about acupuncture as a child. And my husband, who grew up here in Washington, is like, what? His first acupuncture experience was in his 30s. And so I think that the more that we can expand how people can seek healing, the better. And especially in this current volcanic eruption of the midlife transition, where what we rely on is we're smart enough to have figured it out this long.
Yeah.
That's how there's still something that doesn't fit or doesn't feel aligned.
And it can be easier. What I get to help people reprogram at our age is it doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to go through the suffering again to heal it. No, you can actually let it be quick, simple, easy. And so a lot of the programming I get to do is around creating new subconscious beliefs like, I deserve ease. It feels easy. I deserve. You doesn't have to be CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That shit is arduous and it takes a long time and it's not enjoyable. I suffered plenty. I was great at being a martyr. I was great at being a victim. That got boring for me. It got real. And I really didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to be more empowered as the creator of my life, to heal from those stories and those traumas, use that as my medicine, and then help guide people through those same journeys, those same integrations, those same lessons, those same shadows. And what I know is that simple is elegant. Simple is
Oh, it's beautiful.
deep. It doesn't have to be complicated for it to be deep and impactful. I'm more attracted these days to the things that are easy, and Psyche is easy, IFS is easy. Acupuncture
Mhm.
to me is easy because, again, when you're intuitive and you know how to see and hear people, like, you just choose the right things to help
Mhm.
goals. And so
Yeah.
that's what I want to offer people is it doesn't have to be complicated. And I work with a lot of super boss babes that have been very successful, make a lot of money, great at what they do. And now, just like you said, they're like, I would like to like have my love in my life. I would like to feel more joyful. I want to feel more connected. I'm burned out.
Yeah, popular in the arena of burnt out and overwhelmed. I work primarily with entrepreneurs, which is the perfect space for that, right? And women in business don't see business as simple. So it's almost like we yearn for things that are not simple to validate that we can do the hard things. But I love what you said is simple is elegant. Like I love that. That speaks so strongly to high achieving, high performing women, in their 40s and 50s of like, we're really, even though we can still do it, we can still do all the hard things. We don't want to. I've suffered enough. I'm bored. What's the thing? And so I just encourage everybody who's listening and myself to really, that should be an imprint right there of like, let's get a hold of Krishna and simplify our life for fun. Fun. That's another one that no one seems to be having enough of, right? I had a woman say to me yesterday, I had to Google fun. Like, what's fun to do? And I'm like, yeah, I hear you though. Cause when I took a step back from owning our brick and mortar business, it had consumed my life for 20 years. What do I do now? Like, who am I without that rigorous routine every single day?
And so people might feel like, oh, I'm depressed because I don't have that constant
Yes.
anxiety or stress in my life. Yeah. It's not that hard work isn't rewarding. Like the path is rewarding if you're enjoying it. If you're working your butt off and you're burned out and grumpy and feel disconnected and depleted, no, thank you. Right. You can like create also the program that like what you love to do is what makes you money, or you
Yeah.
program that what you do is easy. You can create the program that
Yeah.
whatever you want. Like it just doesn't have to be a struggle. And for me, I had to learn like, oh, I don't need to struggle to prove that I'm worthy. Just like you said.
Yeah, I love that. So, as we're getting to the end of our conversation here, I ask this question to every guest. The question is if you're walking down the street and you walked into a cafe and you saw the 25-year-old Krishna, what would you say to her that she would listen to?
That she would listen to. Hey, there's the clause right there. I would talk to her like she's an even younger Krishna who needed to hear, like, you are not alone, so worthy and deserving of love and healthy relationships. And, like, what do you need right now? That's what you want to pay attention to. As so many of us, was very empathic, always taught to focus on the needs of others, not my own needs, just to start to notice what do you need and put your focus there. Not what
Oh,
somebody else wants from you, not what you think you should do. What do you want?
mhm.
Can be as simple as the kind of chocolate you want to eat, or the type of tea that you're going to get, or the food you want to make for dinner. But to start to follow that, like, what do I want? What do I need? And that is not selfish, y'all. That's
Yeah.
actually like, helping you be more inspired, more bright, more connected, more joyful in your life, which is a broadcast to everyone that you encounter. And that is the best way that you can
Yeah.
you never do things for others. It's just that you really want to start focusing on what you need and want rather than what's wrong or what other people.
Yes. Yes. That's a whole nother conversation of shifting perception of it's not about what everything out here needs your time and your energy, but what about you? Because I think that's such an important aspect too. But it's hard to relearn to ask that question. Well, is it though? Because Krishna just proved to us it doesn't have to be a struggle, people. See, here we go again, going back to the struggle. Oh my gosh, we could just, I feel like this could be a whole series of things that we can talk about. But to honor everybody's time and to leave you to kind of integrate just this conversation, to really soak it in and connect to it, we're gonna end here. We're gonna end here. And I just want to say thank you so much for your energy and your time and your knowledge. And I took a bunch of notes. I mean, I wasn't even, you were talking a little fast. I'm going to rewind when this downloads and I'm going to like, what did she say again? Because there were so many amazing little nuggets that you said, like the complete alignment. You know, we talk a lot about alignment, but complete alignment is, I think, is a stronger focus versus alignment, because alignment just seems like, oh, if I just stood straight, but complete is like a whole piece of you, like your heart, mind, body, and soul. And that's, I think, what we're all trying to get to, is to have that inner peace that every part of us is okay. No matter how screwy it's been, it's all okay together. I think there's a lot of internal fighting in there of like, no, you're terrible, you suck, but you're awesome. You stay with me. And what you're saying is when we can have somebody reflect back to us that it is a safe space and that we can trust this direction that we're moving into, we are going to find the answers. We just need the guides to help us get there.
Yeah. And what you just said, I think it's really important to name that. When you have conflicting voices or parts in your system, that's perfect work for IFS, because we have
Mhm.
parts of us and some of our parts are in conflict. That's
Mhm.
a lot of turmoil for us. And once we learn how to give voice and witnessing to these parts of us and hear what they need from us and from each other, that's where things can start to really fit back into like a puzzle, and you become more embodied. So I just want to speak to that because you meant.
Well, thank you. Because like I said, I work with a lot of midlife solopreneurs, and that's so much of the struggle, right? Because they're coming out of something to go into something, and they knew success in another life, but this is a whole nother journey and success is redefined now, but they don't really know that either. Um, a lot of the work I do really does require support from people like you,
Yeah.
because that is not my cup of tea. I'm here to put your systems together and your strategies together and market yourself in the best light. But I don't know how to get to the deeper level of what you just said, embodying the whole parts of us,
Right.
which is the next level.
Well, and I didn't want to put myself in the coaching category for that very reason. Like I'm a therapist,
Mhm.
help people. Like I do work with groups, but like I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
How I get to do my thing. So yeah,
And
to
I
your.
think that's important too. It's important. I love that you could say that, but we started the conversation with how different the different work that you do. And it's different, but it's necessary because it's a layer of our existing physical, energetic body that we are not giving a lot of. If 97% of our existence lies in subconscious and we're only living off of that 3%, no wonder we're in a struggle, people. No wonder. So, again, thank you for enlightening us, and holding the light in this dark path called healing. And listen, ladies, all of Krishna's information will be in our show notes, so you can reach out and have your own conversation to see where you're at and what's important to you. Truly, what do you need right now is a question that we need to be bringing to her. when that time comes. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, if was of value to anybody who's listening, please share to everybody, because healing isn't an isolation type of journey. It is a together journey. We need to do it united and together. We need each other, period. That's all there is to it. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great day and make great choices. Bye. Thank you so much for being with me on today's journey. If you felt something resonate, if you saw yourself in this conversation, please take a moment to subscribe. Share it with a friend who needs this space and leave a review. It helps others find us, and it's a small way you can be a part of this powerful movement. Ladies, this isn't just a podcast. It's a community, a revolution, a place where midlife women come together to embrace our hard-earned wisdom and vibrant truth. So thank you for being part of this. Remember, it's time. It's time to step into our truth. No more holding back. Midlife is ours to own, and it's only getting started. So, until next time, take a breath, honor your journey, and live with audacity, courage, and joy. This is our time, our truth, unraveled, revealed, and celebrated.